everyone, today we're taking a hands-on look at this new LUMIX S9 camera body. So it might not look like it right now, but I'm currently in Osaka, Japan, and I have so many cool locations that we're going to be heading out to today to test this camera out in the field for both photo and video. I also have the new 26mm Pancake lens, and we're going to be checking out the new app as well. So let's get started. The LUMIX S9 is a 24 megapixel full frame mirrorless camera body with an interchangeable lens mount. I currently have the S35mm f1.8 on there, which I will be using probably the majority of the time, but I also have some other lenses with me as well, and I'll make sure to label which lenses I'm using for all the photos that I'm sharing with you. The S9 is a brand new camera line for LUMIX. It makes use of phase detection AF and shares the same full frame dual gain sensor as the S5 II and S5 IIX, which is amazing to see. This camera is incredibly exciting for photographers, videographers, and consumers alike who are after a compact body. The S9 weighs around only 486 grams. In comparison to other cameras with a similar use case, the Sony a7C weighs 514 grams, the Fujifilm X100VI is 521 grams, and the Nikon ZF is 710 grams. So even though the S9 is missing a couple of things, which I'll get to, it does have the benefit of being very lightweight. The first thing that stood out to me is the design, which is really beautiful, and it's nice that it has a different look rather than just a retro design. Basically, this camera is absolutely gorgeous. I love the way it looks, it's so beautiful, and I of course had to choose it in green. There is black, red, blue, and green, but I chose green because I'm always shooting in green locations, so I thought it just matches my style. This camera features a flippy screen. There's now a dedicated LUT button to integrate the use of LUMIX's real-time LUT feature more seamlessly, which, by the way, you can still customize this button to another shortcut if you don't use LUTs. And it makes use of the same battery as the LUMIX S5 II. Yep, they fit it in. This camera has a micro HDMI port, USB-C port, and a 3.5mm microphone port. Even though this camera is small and doesn't have as many buttons and dials as the LUMIX S5 II, which I have previously reviewed on my channel, it still felt very easy to use. I never felt frustrated with the lack of a joystick, and I was able to capture lots of moments that required me to be quick. This camera body has a single UHS-2 SD card slot, and I'm surprised to see there is no headphone jack. Due to its compact size and quite flat design, it can be a little uncomfortable to handle for consecutive extended hours, like during a portrait photo shoot, for example. But while traveling and taking photos here and there, like during my time exploring Osaka, the size and weight made up for the lack of grip. So you know me, I love having a grip to hold onto. I kind of have like the claw hand going on while I'm holding this camera. But you do have a small rig attachment that you can purchase separately that you can add on to give yourself a little grip, which I have been using here and there. And something else that I'm sort of missing, especially when I've got that 26 manual focus lens on, is the viewfinder. Sometimes I'm like trying to focus on something and I go to like hold it up to the viewfinder and it's not there. I know I use the LCD a lot to shoot with, but when I'm traveling and you're out in like the bright sun, sometimes the viewfinder can come in handy. And I just want to share with you a full disclaimer that LUMIX did gift me this camera, and they also sent Dan and I to be here in Japan right now for the event. But this video is not sponsored by LUMIX. They don't ask me to say anything. They don't watch the video before I upload it. So all thoughts and opinions are completely my own. And as always, with all my reviews, I like sharing both the positives, the negatives, and the in-between thoughts of the products that I'm reviewing. So let's take a look at some of the photo and video specs of this camera. We are seeing a lot of the same features you can find in the S5 II, which is a professional camera body shared with the feature set of the S9. This is super impressive and really nice to see LUMIX are not holding back in that regard. The only thing to note is that it does only have an electronic shutter. So that shutter sound you're hearing is totally fake. In stills mode, it has the handheld high resolution mode for 96 megapixel files, which you don't typically see in cameras at this price point. Even Sony reserved this for their A7R line and don't include it in the A7 IV, which in my opinion is the equivalent of the S5 II. Autofocus is extremely responsive and easy to rely on. I've switched over to the S24mm f1.8 to do some autofocus tests. We're going to do these in video mode so you can see the overlay and the final product as well. For these tests, I'm making use of full area autofocus detection on human eye face body. I have AF sensitivity on responsive and moving subject prediction on variable. I'm excited to do a portrait photo shoot with this camera when I get back home, and I'll upload the behind the scenes video for you if you want to see how it performs in that situation. Let me know if you have any questions or anything in particular you want me to test out there. Back to the dedicated LUT button, I think this shows the direction LUMIX want to go with the camera. I personally really like the concept of these LUTs and the fact that you're able to upload any LUT you want to filter your photos and video with in camera, instead of only being able to use pre-installed presets with minor tweaking options. There are a couple of brand new features I'm excited about with the LUTs, so you can now upload up to 39 LUTs instead of 10. You can also change the opacity of the LUTs in camera, and you can stack up to 2 LUTs on top of each other. If you don't know how to make LUTs or you're stuck finding a LUT pack you want to use, I am working on some sets and I'll have them available on my website soon. Speaking of new features, they've also introduced crop zoom. So rather than only having the option of shooting in S35 mode if you want more reach, now you can zoom in to crop at different percentages. It does crop at the expense of image resolution, so for me personally, I would rather just capture the full resolution image and then crop it in post instead. I find this feature is much more useful in video mode as it keeps the same resolution video file. In 4K, you can crop up to 1.6 times and in HD up to 3.1 times. You cannot use crop zoom in 6K resolution. Let's talk about video specs. The S9 films in up to 6K OpenGate 30p full frame in 420 10-bit. It can also film in up to 4K 60p with an S35 crop or 4K 30p full frame, both in 422 10-bit. In 4K, you have the option of recording in 16:9 as well as 17:9. The S9 makes use of long GOP only, so there is no all-I. However, even the S5 doesn't have this, only the S5 2X. It does 4K HDMI output over micro HDMI, including in Vlog. The S9 also has a new file format called MP4 Lite, which is used to be able to transfer your recorded video files to the app. You cannot transfer high-res MOV files to the app. We do have file length limits in the S9, 10 minutes in 6K and 15 minutes in 4K. However, you can start recording another clip straight after. The S9 has some of the video features you'll also find in the S5 II and X, like shutter angle and focus peaking. IBIS is just as good as these cameras too, which is so good to see. It is time to test out the S9 for vlogging. So I currently have the LUMIX 18mm f1.8 on the camera, and I have the S9 on Adobe, so that's how I'm holding it right now. I really love this lens for vlogging. It's also really nice quality, nice and sharp, and it's super wide as well. I'm just gonna walk around a little bit so we can see what the movement looks like on the camera. Have it set to 25 frames per second, and I'm filming in log as well. And I'll just move the camera a bit closer and a bit further away, and I'll keep pacing back and forth so we can, check that out. I'm also going to show you what each of the stabilization modes look like with the 18mm held as a vlogging rig on this camera, and this is how I'm holding the camera, just like kind of up against my body. This is normal IBIS with E-stabilization switched off. This is with standard E-stabilization, and this is with E-stabilization set to high. And we'll do a quick walking shot with E-stabilization on high. This is what it looks like with my arm fully outstretched on the 18mm, so it is still nice and wide, like you can see me and a lot of the background. The only problem is, if your arm gets tired and you kind of have to hold it a bit closer to your body, it is a bit of a close-up on your face, but the footage is nice and smooth when you're walking around. Let's test out the microphone as well. So all the audio that you've been listening to has been on my lav mic, so we've heard plenty of that. We don't need to listen to that anymore. Let's switch over now to the microphone that I've got attached to the camera. So this is an external microphone, and I'll talk a little bit so you can get an idea of what that sounds like. It is a little bit breezy and there is a bit of like city noise happening around. And now I've switched over to the internal microphone of the S9. So again, I'll talk a little bit so you can have a bit of time to listen to this audio. We have the sound limiter and wind noise cancellation switched off right now, and there is again a bit of city noise. There's like general traffic noise just there in the distance. There's an aeroplane in the distance and a little bit of a breezy day as well. And now I've got the sound limiter switched on, so we'll see if that changes what my voice sounds like. The wind's just picked up a little bit, you can see in my hair, and I make some loud noises. Like, we'll see if that changes anything with the sound limiter. So now I've switched the limiter back off, and I've got the wind noise cancellation switched on, and it's set to standard. And yeah, we've got the breezes going on. Again, I don't know what that noise is over there. Just like a low droning noise. I don't know. It's a beautiful day out here in Osaka today. I'm so excited to be filming this video. Hope you're enjoying it. Okay, next one. Finally, I have the wind noise cancellation set to high. Oh, now the wind's picking back up, so I'll continue talking. But yeah, today we are staying in Osaka, and tomorrow I'm super excited that we're going to Kyoto. I'm also going to be making more vlogs while I'm here in Japan. I'm going to be using the S9, so I'm really excited for that, and I'll be uploading those really soon, so keep an eye out. And one last test, just because I think it's important to show you what it sounds like. I've got the noise limiter switched on, and I've got the wind noise cancellation switched to high, so everything's like at the maximum. So yeah, we'll see if that changes my voice, see if that does anything funky to the audio. So who is this camera for? I can see this camera being used by people who want to get into photography and are looking to purchase their first camera, someone who wants to upgrade from their phone or a point and shoot camera to be able to take more control over the images they create, and people who are looking for a light and compact camera to take traveling with or to use as an everyday camera. For these types of users, I think the feature set is more than enough, and the only thing currently letting this camera down for these users is the manual focus 26mm Pancake lens, which I'll talk about in a minute. The other people I can see with this camera are photographers and videographers who already have their main camera body with dual card slots and a more ergonomic body, and are instead looking for a B cam to complement their already existing setup, or are looking for a smaller yet capable camera to take traveling with instead of their professional cameras. For these users, I can see the lack of viewfinder, missing headphone jack, and shortened recording limits being something that needs considering. I've got the 26mm on there right now, which is what I want to talk about next. So this is a new lens that's coming out with the S9. This is the 26mm f8 manual focus Pancake lens. And this lens looks so good on this camera body, but man, I really wish they had made it an autofocus lens. I'm gonna get some portraits of Dan with the 26, and we've got a nice little backlit spot here. So let's talk about this new lens. I was so excited about it. I didn't even mind hearing that it's an f8 lens, but it lost me at manual focus, especially since we just got PDAF in LUMIX cameras. I'm no stranger to manual focusing either. I have a bunch of videos you can watch on my channel where I use vintage lenses or film cameras to do portrait photo shoots with. On the one hand, manual focusing can be fun to do for photographers, but the fact that this is a compact camera aimed at beginners, consumers, and for travel, having a manual focus lens doesn't really make a lot of sense for that. With a lack of viewfinder, it can be a little difficult to get images in focus. When they are really nice and sharp though, with great colors straight out of camera. There is quite a strong lens flare when shooting backlit, and it has some heavy lens breathing too. One last thing we all want now and needs to be addressed are lenses. I have been using the LUMIX f1.8 range on this camera, which are small and light. They feel great on the camera and have been performing exceptionally well. However, I would still like to see a range of even more compact lenses, similar to the 26 Pancake, but with autofocus, as they will be such a perfect match for the S9. I also want to talk about the new app they released called LUMIX Lab. I've been using it on this trip to download my images after a day of shooting when I'm on a bus or train ride back to the hotel. For the most part, it works really well. Sometimes I need to press connect to camera a couple of times before it works. I would have loved to see the camera be automatically connected every time you open the app without having to press any buttons. For the time being, you still need to use the old LUMIX app for features like remote shooting, but they did let us know they are planning on merging the two apps into one in the future. So we made it to Dotonbori, Osaka, and we're gonna do some nighttime photo and video and show you the quality. I'm currently at ISO 1600, and yeah, we're just gonna walk around and do a little bit of street photography, street videography. Let's go. Shooting out here at night, I'm noticing some rolling shutter from the lights when I'm using a normal shutter speed. So I've just switched on Synchro Scan, where you can really fine tune your shutter speed. And I'm using a shutter speed of 1/120, which is getting rid of the lines. I do want to shoot a bit faster though, because there's people coming by on bikes and people walking. I'm walking while I'm taking photos, but I am still seeing some banding when I've got it at 240 and 480 as well. So 120 seems to be the sweet spot. So I have to be careful with the movement that I'm shooting. That's basically because electricity is at 60 Hertz here in Japan. Okay, back to the daytime, but that is all I have for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed that. Let me know if you have any questions. I can help answer them in the comments down below. Let me know which ones were your favorite photos, and stay tuned for more Japan vlogs because I've got a whole bunch coming. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I make new videos every single week, so I'll see you all next time. Bye.